Shiki is a show. Shiki is an anime from 2010. It's 15 years old, and I'm making a video about it 15 years later because I'm mentally insane and I'm the only person who still thinks about how the show and the people who watch the show are trying to be like, well, you know, what the vampires did was messed up, but you know, the way the humans reacted, you know, are they really that much better than the vampires? They're kind of both monsters and on equal levels. You know, they're both just trying to survive at the end of the day. And it's like, no! Sorry. It's like, no. That's not true. Oh, it really makes you think. Yeah, it makes you think not that much, I guess, because if you really thought about it, what the vampires did was so messed up that, yeah, what the humans ended up doing, it was a bit wild, but understandable. And I just want to make this video to kind of remind people what the vampires did, that they didn't have to do that, and they could have accomplished their goals in a much less traumatizing way for the humans. What the humans went through, like the humans that do survive, there's no way that they weren't forever traumatized by what they witnessed and what they experienced. Are humans evil? Are humans bad for the planet? Are humans trash? Yeah, they are. But in this specific situation, I'm on the human side. Spoilers, if you haven't seen the show, I mean, this show gets pretty good reviews. I think the main reason a lot of people don't end up watching it is because of the art style. The art style it's a choice, specifically the hair. The hair was a huge choice, but other than that, I think it's a pretty good show. I like the soundtrack. Some of the characters are really annoying and hard to watch, and hard to like sit through whenever they're on screen. But other than that, pretty good anime. I'm not gonna be recapping it scene by scene, but I am gonna be spoiling a lot. Straight off the first episode. So there's a family that moves in. These are the main vampires. This family moved here for a very specific purpose, right? This is a village that is kind of in the middle of nowhere. The only reason you would end up in this village is if you were purposely going here. No one travels through this village to get to another destination. Like, you only end up here if you need to go here for whatever reason. Very traditional Japanese village. They don't do autopsies because that is against their belief. So that's just to say they picked this village to live in for a reason, to execute their plan. The first victim is Megami. She's pretty annoying. They try to humanize her in some parts, but she's mean for no reason to this one girl who's trying to be her friend. She goes to the house. She kind of gets like lured to the house, and then she goes missing. And this is a small village, so a girl goes missing. Gonna be a big deal. Everyone's looking for her. They do eventually find her unconscious, like in the woods. They get her home. There's only one doctor in this village. Again, super small village. If you haven't been listening to when I said it 1,000 times before, very small village, one doctor. She goes missing and then she's super sick, super suspicious. They see like insect bites on her and it seems like she's anemic. So that's kind of like the first clues. But she dies. Very traumatic for the village. She's a very young girl. Pretty traumatic, right? And like the more modern parts of the world, they would do an autopsy to see like what caused this. But since this is a traditional village, they don't do an autopsy. Cause of death ends up being unknown. And then shortly after, more people die. This is just like within a month. 4 more people are dead. Like, it's basically this entire family is found dead. Small village, right? So the doctor is like, what is happening? He wants to start investigating, but like the whole thing is weird because it's like no one's going to the doctor. They meet with like the heads of the village and they find out that like a total of 10 people have died at this point. Like, once something has killed 10 people, like, hey, are vaccines, face mask? But like, people still don't want to do autopsies because it's a very traditional village. We get another victim, okay, and it's Now. Her name is Now. Just remember her because I am going to be bringing her back up. But for now, we don't really have that much interaction with her. But yeah, next victim. We also at this point we're starting to meet a bit more of this main vampire family, specifically Sunako. But she is what we will later find out is like the head of the vampires, and she's all like, don't treat me like I'm a child. I'm not a child. And it's like, you are a child, and the things that you care about are childish. I don't like her. I mean, she is the reason that this is all happening, and we're gonna get into it, but it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, if you went to therapy, this wouldn't be happening. There's a priest, his name is Seishin. He's kind of one of the main characters that gets focused on, because he kind of befriends Sunako. He befriends Sunako, and they have like these philosophical conversations. But since I hate her so much, I also kind of don't like him because he befriends her. Like, you really betrayed humanity, bro. A friend of one of the other main focuses, Natsuno, dies. These are very young people, okay? So I really want to like point that out. Children are also being killed. Well, dying of this mysterious disease, but being killed. Oh. And at this point, people are starting to rise. They have risen. Megami is a vampire now, and she's stalking this one guy that she has a crush on. He's not into her, but she's super into him. He might be into men. And we're now about 2 months into this. And at this point, we do kind of finally see like the process. The annoying guy that no one cared died. He rises up. They call them the Risen in the show. He rises up. And then there's a guy named Tatsumi. He's kind of like a daywalker. It's implied that he is like immortal. He has these more enhanced abilities, but he can walk in the sun unlike his fellow vampires. So that's him, and he's like helping teach these new vampires how to live. More dead people, more people are dying. The doctor is like trying to observe this though, right? Because these people are dying at home. And he's kind of like, he's telling them to come in, and then he's sending them home whenever they start to look a bit better, and then they're dying. Someone comes in, he's like, you're staying here this time, okay? And I'm gonna actually watch to see what is happening. But Toshio Seishin, there's 2 siblings who are kind of observing things, and Natsuno. Those 5 people have finally like come to the conclusion that it must be vampires. Oh yeah, Natsuno's dad is also a little piece of shit. Because Natsuno didn't even want to move to this village. They're like from the city, and that's kind of why Megami has a crush on him. Natsuno like tries to protect himself with talismans because, you know, vampires, they don't do religious stuff. So he tries to protect himself, and his dad, who forced them to come to this fucking village, is like, no! And he like rips it down. This is also where we learn a bit more about the vampires' abilities. They have the ability of hypnosis, but it only works if they have like bitten the person. That's how they are able to hypnotize them. And so they use this to get the patient that Dr. Toshio has at his clinic because they want to finish it. I'm gonna get a bit more into that. The way that they kind of prey on people, it really strengthens the argument that it didn't have to go this way. But basically, she's like Nao's prey, and so they want to complete it, but they can't go into the hospital because they have to be invited in. Also, going a bit more into Nao right now. Anyway, Megami, who, like I said, is a total she like laughs at Nao because Nao killed her family and they didn't rise. And that's again going a bit more into the vampires' plan. But they are telling these new vampires to kill their family, and maybe they will also become vampires and they'll be able to live together forever, or maybe they'll just die. But they're kind of like saying like, but they'll probably become vampires like you, and trying to like basically tricking these newer vampires into killing their own family and their own children. So yeah, fucking pieces of people are still dying, but there's also people kind of seeing what's going on and being like, nope, and like just leaving the village. Understandable. Dr. Toshio has like just given no shits anymore. He digs up the body of like the latest victim, and he plans to like do experiments if she ends up turning into a vampire, right? And this is kind of the part where Seishin shows his bitchliness. He's a little bitch. He's like, it's wrong. We shouldn't do this. Bro, do you see how many people are like dying non-stop? What do you mean it's wrong? What do you suggest, you little bitch? So there's kind of this fight over who kills this one character, and that's why I say, like, it should have. I wish the show had gone full gay. I'm gonna give an opinion now. I'm gonna give an opinion that people probably aren't gonna agree with. But if you make a vampire show or movie, and at least one of the vampires in it aren't super gay, I think you don't understand vampires, and that's all I'm gonna say. But Megumi really wanted to be the one to kill Natsuno. As I said, she has a huge crush on him. It actually ends up being his best friend, Toru, who does the deed. Okay, so this is the part where I really start to like get pissed at the vampires, because Natsuno, he's still alive, but Toru comes again to drink from Natsuno. He's like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this, my friend, who was once human. Toru is like, I can't help it. The thirst, it's like, he can't take it. It's unbearable, right? They give this analogy to justify what the vampires are doing, right? They're like, if you wanted to eat pork, you wouldn't just like slice a bit of meat off of a living pig, like, day by day, right? You wouldn't do that. You would kill the pig and then you would eat the meat, because that's just like the morally right thing to do. It's not right to torture an animal like that. But it's like, that's what you're doing, right? That's literally what the vampires in the show are doing. They do not kill humans at once. It's not like they drink from them one time and then the humans die. That's literally what they are doing. They drink from them night after night, slowly draining them of their blood. The humans are still alive throughout this process. You're literally saying that, like, oh, you wouldn't do this to a pig, but you're doing it to the humans. Make it make sense. Hypothetically, based off what happens in this show, the vampires do not have to ever kill humans, because they could just drink from one person one night, another person another night, another person another night, let the other people are basically giving blood. It's just a lot more blood than you would actually give. Like, you're not just giving a pint of blood, they're giving a lot. But like, when you give blood, you have to, like, they don't just say, okay, bye. They're like, all right, now you have to sit down and drink some of this and eat a bit of this, because we basically took nutrients from your body, and that's not supposed to happen. That's what's happening to these humans. They are not dying in one night. You vampire. And honestly, that right there is really the big reason I'm making this video, because it just pisses me off so much. They say that 2 times, I think, in the show. They say that exact analogy, and it's just like, that's literally what you are doing in this show. Based off what you're showing us in the show, you technically never had to kill a single human being. Oh my god. There is still more though. That's not even it. There's still more happening. And now, as more people have become vampires, they are like slowly building their own little town. Some of them, I guess, have died without others' knowledge, and they're actually able to exist, but it's only at night. So they're actually like working their jobs and like talking to people, but it's only at night. I'm gonna skip ahead a bit because I really want to talk about this character, Kaori. Sorry if I'm saying these names wrong, but she is like the simple farm girl who was trying to be friends with Megumi, and Megumi was being mean to her from the beginning. And Megumi actually kills her dad, and then she mentally tortures her because she has decided that Kaori sucks and she's just gonna be a total asshole to her. But it doesn't end there. Then Kaori's mom gets sick and she dies, so it's just the siblings. And then her brother, you know, wanting to investigate, wanting to figure out what's going on, basically gets bonked on the head. And when he wakes up, it's nighttime and he is tied up and there's a vampire waking up across from him. Oh, and then it cuts, so we don't see what happens next. But Kaori, like her brother has gone missing. She basically assumes that he has also been killed by Megumi. And it makes her basically go insane. And there's like a really sad scene where she visits the priest and she's like, I need to make my gravestone and bury my grave because I'm next. I'm gonna die next. And that's, again, just to say, like, the things that these vampires do to these people, I don't care. These vampires are bad. Like, why would you fucking do that? Fuck you, Megami. Like, and also we do find out that Megami kills the dad, but the dad is actually the one who killed the mom, again, because these vampires are being told that they have to kill their family. And the dad actually comes back to kill Kaori, or at least that's what it seems like. It could be that he just wanted to see her. She just like blacks out and hits him over the head. And I will just like say, skipping forward, the siblings do make it out. It's implied that Natsuno saved the brother, and they're both seen at the hospital at the end, so they do survive. But still, there's no way that they didn't end up in a psych ward. And this is the part where a lot of people's opinions change, and they feel like the humans are just as bad as the vampires, if not possibly worse. But Toshio is kind of like the one like helping them on this. Like, again, he's like lost all emotions, how to defeat the Shiki, like where they should go, how the Shiki can be killed. So their main method is sunlight, stabbing them in the chest with stakes, and beheading them. And those are all the things. And yeah, it's brutal. It looks bad, but you know what? The vampires deserved it. The vampires had it coming, dude. Like, did you not just hear all the stuff I said? They totally deserve this. Okay, and it's not the humans' fault that the vampires can only die in like the worst ways possible. I don't know why Sunako is like so like shocked by this reaction. She's lived through both of the world wars. You know the atrocities of man. You know what man is capable of. You should have known they would do this. One of the acts that the humans do is that's like, okay, now it's going too far. So he's like an agent for the vampires, and so he tells them they kill the man. He wasn't a vampire, but to them, he was no longer savable. He was one of them. Even though, like, as we know, Toshio, that happened to Toshio, and here he is now. Another moment, a guy gets bitten by a vampire, like, during a struggle, and they immediately kill him. Again, didn't have to do that. He wasn't a vampire. And then also, like, as this killing, the attitude of the humans, it becomes like, oh, this isn't even really that big of a deal. This is like another day on the farm. And there's like women humming songs and stuff as they're like picking up the bodies of the vampires and putting them on carts. Megami dies, and it's supposed to be sad. She like gets knocked over by a tractor and her arm gets pinned, and like as they're like standing over her, she's like, it's me, remember when you guys like made fun of me, remember those days? And then the tractor runs over her head, and she's still alive, even though like it's supposed to be like if they get beheaded they die. I don't know, maybe that didn't count or something. And people are like, oh man, I really felt bad for her at the end. But you know what? That might have been sad, sure. But you know what she did to that girl, I don't give a fuck. A bunch of vampires die. It is sad. There's now... This is actually in like an OVA, not in the like official season. We kind of get like see things from her perspective of how things went. She even like killed one of her neighbors, and the only reason she did it is because the vampires had attacked Now instead of her, and she was jealous of that. She killed her husband and her son, and they didn't rise, and so that's something that she's really upset about. Her scene is all sad because they run out of stakes, but they catch all these vampires in the process, and they run out of stakes, and they're like, well, we'll just tie them up and they'll burn in the sun. But when the sun rises, it's like not it's not an instant burn. It's like not like, oh, boom, explosion kind of thing. It's extremely slow. It's like their skin is sizzling in the sun and they are screaming in agony, and the humans are just like ignoring them. Except this one guy does feel bad, and he picks up like a pipe and he starts stabbing them, and it's like a guy that now had talked to in the past, so it was all emotional, like not all the humans were bad. Not all of them were bad, see? There's not much more to say at this point, since all the vampires are being killed. There's not much more to say about, like, why they suck, because this is the end for them. But I guess one more scenario that we experience at the end of the show is with the character, Taro, who was friends with Natsuno, and he was the one who killed him. And there was this nurse throughout the show who he kind of had feelings for. She is one of the people who are turned and arises, and he is like helping her like adjust to this new life, but she's like, fuck that. She doesn't want to be a vampire. She really doesn't want to. And she starts to get the thirst, and he's like, everyone gives into the thirst eventually. The person they're basically sacrificing to her is actually another nurse that she's friends with, so that makes it extra like she doesn't want to do it. And it's like a whole scene where she's like, I'm a nurse, I became a nurse to like help people. What kind of person would I be if I suddenly just started killing people just to live? And it's like, yeah, but yeah, I do feel bad for her. We do actually like see them at the end of the show, and they were both executed, and they're like just laying next to each other at the end. The village ends up burning down, so you know, at the end it was kind of like, was it worth it? I mean, but I do want to say, so the whole like the plan of, oh, we're gonna turn this village into a vampire village, I do think that it could have been a plan that worked if they had like just spread it out more. Like, these are immortal vampires, dude. They're like acting like they have to get this done like before. They're like, we have to get this done within like 6 months, guys. We have to get this done now. And it's like, you've lived for hundreds of years. You can live 100 more. Wait, do this over like several decades to 100 years, and slowly like indoctrinate the humans. Like, they could have done it in the village too. Like, the village is the perfect setting. Just like make them see you as their gods, which they would because you're immortal, and like make it seem like it's like their religion, you know, they have to be loyal to you and stuff. And if they're loyal, then maybe some of them can become vampires if they want to, and not kids though, because leave the kids alone, let them grow into adults, and they'll praise you even more because they've been praising you since they've been kids. And yeah, over time it'll work, and it will be better to have human servants to carry out your needs during the daytime. Like, I don't know why they listen to a child vampire. I don't care if she's like 600, 700 years old. She's a fucking kid. She's a child. She doesn't have the brain of an adult. She doesn't have an adult brain. Her body stopped developing when she became a vampire.